maybe we can all be friends because I love who you're talking to as well, and she's a great person. And that's where they ended it.
Yes.
You think they'll all be friends?
No.
Welcome to A Fine Podcast with your hosts, Amanda and...
Joseph, yes, welcome back.
Yes.
We have a new segment this time.
A new subject to cover. We're so excited to be covering Love is Blind, Season 8, Episodes 1 through 6.
Yes, we are diving into the latest season of Love is Blind.
That just premiered on Valentine's Day.
Yes, we have watched all 6 episodes.
Basically back to back.
Yeah, and we are ready to talk about it.
Yeah, so first, we had a really good Valentine's Day watching Love is Blind, but also
Yeah.
just enjoying time together.
Yes. Yeah. It was intimate watching Love is Blind.
Yeah, we kind of had a random Valentine's Day because we worked and then we tried to get food from a restaurant that ended up being closed.
Yeah.
And then we made food at home, watched Love is Blind,
Yeah, it all worked out.
and it was just fun being
Yeah.
together doing that.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, and he got me the best gift ever.
Yeah, yes.
Vegan Kit Kat bars that are being discontinued, so we have to stock up on them.
Yeah, a lot of them.
A lot of them, so hopefully we won't run out for a while, but they're a really good snack. I love them so much.
Yeah. You got me some good tea that it will be fun to try out.
Yes. Tea.
So, yeah.
Different types of tea.
Yeah, the tea-scription.
Tea-scription.
So, yes, we'll be getting a new one each month. That'll be fun. So,
It will be fun.
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. And we are already trying some of it. The ginger peach tea, which is delicious.
Yes, very good.
Yep. Shout out to Joseph's mother.
Yeah, she had it first. I tried it there and it was fabulous.
Yep. When we went to Florida, we had that and it was really, really great. So, yeah, we love tea. And we love vegan Kit Kats. And put the two together, it's a perfect match.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of those things we love, we can get into Love is Blind. So, what did you think after watching all those hours of pod talking?
Yeah. a lot of pod talking. Yeah, I mean, a lot was said. we'll go into it. Some things more notorious than others.
Yes.
And we have our couples.
Yep, we have our couples.
But it too, so, it jumps in immediately with a bunch of sneak peeks into what's happening throughout the series. And
Yeah.
now I'm getting really big
that's
into
crazy.
Looking at this and like dissecting and
In The Bachelor and
seeing-
Love is Blind, when they basically give away, once you start to know the people.
Right, who's gonna getting matched up with who. So everyone was a shocker except there was only one that I got taken aback because
Well, let's talk about both previews. So, first, when Love is Blind opened up, there was a big, hey, here's what's coming in this season in episode 1 at the very beginning. Then, at the very end of episode 6, there was a preview as to what's to come next. So, 2 different previews.
yes, yeah. I was mainly focusing just on the intro one.
Okay,
for
so
now,
the
but-
intro one.
Yeah, because what I feel weird about it is it would be, I don't know, I feel like they should just focus on conversations on that because you can't really determine much. But they're showing, events from the honeymoon and even altar images of some of them. So it's like, this guy's he's making it to the altar because why else would he be in a suit being pulled up in a SUV standing at an altar. And it was kind of, I don't know, it hides a lot of the mystery because you see them, and then once you can put a name to the face, then it gave it away.
Yeah, so we immediately took notes, and then once we started diving into episode 1 and 2, we kind of knew who people were. We went back and watched the preview after that, and especially after episode 6, then we really went back and watched the episode 1 preview, which you're like, okay, like there's so and so's tattoos, there's this person's hair colors, so then you can start matching up everybody who at least makes it to the wedding day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even, I think I was able to, even before, after watching it all and going back, just after like watching episode 1 and looking at the preview again, I think I was able to at least figure out like 3 of the relationships that were going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then
after,
the others came. And like I said, there was only one that actually caught me off guard. But, well, just because of the
let's
preview.
talk about who.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we'll get into relationships. And then we can
talk about the previews a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, a quick mention that the previews really do give a lot away. So do you think the producers are thinking like, oh, this is just a fun intro, and then after they'll hopefully forget about what they saw, or they didn't pay too much attention to who is who, and
I mean, I think the average person's not really diving into the preview, or they just kind of, they see it, but they're not really ingesting what's happening.
Right.
So, because, otherwise it does. I feel like it gives quite a bit away.
Yeah, definitely. And the way they edited the ending preview makes you think that if you didn't watch the first preview, you would think something totally different. But if you put the 2 previews together, then it's kind of silly what they did with the second preview. But we'll get into why that makes sense here in a bit. So let's go over the couples of this season. Let's start with Taylor and Daniel. So we have Taylor. She's an RN and she's in GI. And you said she looks like Carolina from The Bachelor, just with a different hair color.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of saw a resemblance of it, but maybe not so much, but for others. But I don't know. She kind of did for me. That's what first kind of, I mean, probably just because I'm
watching so much of The Bachelor.
It's all current, but yes.
And then we have Daniel, who is a sales executive, and something we learn about him right away is he is 5'8", and he's a short king.
Yeah, my guess is this has burned him in the past or something, because he's very self-conscious about it.
Talks about it a lot.
Yes, that's a lot of what he talks about. And
I had to ask you, is 5'8" like really short? Or should it even make a difference, like, to women?
Yeah, I would say it does for majority of women.
Majority of women?
I think if you polled a bunch of women out on the street, I would think they would think, yes, that's pretty short.
But then you also mentioned women when they're wearing high heels.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't think the average woman's out there 5'8", but they like to wear heels, which make them taller, and then they're probably 6 foot, once they put heels on, or 5'11", or something around that. So
I didn't realize this was such a thing, but yeah.
Yes,
it is
a thing.
So,
but yeah, I mean, this is why this guy is self-conscious about it.
Which I feel terrible for him.
Yeah.
On that, but hopefully, people can like him for him, and
that's why we came on the show.
Yes, exactly. So he has a blind sister, and he said he's inspired to think like her and not make judgments based off of what you see in somebody too. So he talks about that a little bit. And We also learned that he really enjoys the Christmas holiday, and every year he makes his own Christmas card of him in different poses and sends it out to people. And he really would like a wife that he can add to that card, and hopefully family members someday.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a big, and then we find out Taylor is as well. That's one of their
She loves Christmas.
bonding points.
She put up 4 Christmas trees in her 1-bedroom apartment,
Yes, yeah,
which is a lot of Christmas trees.
yeah. That's even more extreme than you.
I know. I was like, wow, I didn't think anybody could top me, but 4 in one apartment, I've never done that before. The most I've done is probably like 2 or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, I do like a tree in every room of the house.
yeah, yeah. I was stunned when she said 4 in one room because I was like, wow.
She beat me.
Yeah,
So they both like Christmas. That's something they have in common. We learned that Taylor likes Taco Bell so much that she got a Taco Bell tattoo on her lip that is now fading. And
yeah. That is weird. That's very strange.
Daniel's response to this was, well, if we get together, I'll get one of my favorite fast food places on my
Well, he
lip.
said first, I'll get Taco Bell
Yeah,
too. But
and then she's like-
well, you should probably get something that you like. And
He's
then
like, okay,
"Oh,
maybe like Chick-fil-A or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Which that's kind of crazy.
I mean, yeah. That's I don't know. The inside of the lip sounds terrible.
Sounds painful.
But I don't know.
I mean, I guess the only positive is that you don't see it on a daily basis, but then what was the point of doing it? So
When would I ever see that?
I guess if every night you want to pull down your lip
yeah.
and look at it or
I
something.
don't know. That's just weird. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I have to open my lip every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hidden secret about yourself.
Yeah.
I guess it's like a fun fact. It's like if you're meeting someone for the first time, you're like, oh, I like Taco Bell. And they're like, yeah, yeah. And then you're like, no, I really like Taco Bell. Let me prove it to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we also learned Taylor's dad's name is Daniel. So there was a lot of
There was a lot of this with like a
father
lot of the
similarities. Yeah.
relationships.
Mm-hmm.
There's constantly the man was like the woman's father's name.
Yep.
But
Yeah. Which was ironic that kept coming up
yeah, came up
a lot.
way too much.
We learned that Taylor's dad is sick, but he's doing okay. He's stable at the moment. And Daniel says, well, I'll be there for you if you have to go take care of him at home or if anything comes up, and I will find you if you have to leave the show. Don't worry about it, which she finds very endearing. And she likes that he said that.
Yeah, it's hard without talking about the cliffhanger thing. But
I know. So
but
we'll get to that.
it's-
Because first she finds it endearing. Later, it
right,
because
because
found
it is
creepy.
this really
so.
nice. Yeah, I mean,
Don't worry, I'll find you because I already stalked you before the show, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, this was a little out there, but yeah, I mean, nonetheless, it was a nice thing.
In the moment, it was nice.
Yeah,
They are really only talking to each other at this point. I think Taylor talked to Brad, the dentist, at some point, but that must have fizzled out. We saw like a quick snippet of that, and that was it. But
yeah, we had one scene where he said, he's like, "Oh, I've been to that. I like that. That's a nice Costco or something because I've been there." Because
is he the
I have a
Costco guy?
membership. Yeah,
Brad,
yeah, that was the one time we saw him.
he's the guy obsessed with Costco, which was
I guess. All right, yes,
fun.
he's at least made a statement about it, and that was it.
That was it.
And then you never got a.
He never got shown ever again.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like being in the men's quarters with a group of them, but
Right.
no like solo shots.
So when it's time for gift giving, they both gift each other Christmas items. Daniel gets Taylor a Christmas stocking with a T on it. And she says, wow, that's so nice. And he's like, yeah, so we can add it to the mantle right next to mine. She goes, I actually have the same exact stocking at home.
Yeah, that was.
Crazy.
Yeah, I didn't. Maybe I just missed it. I didn't really see a detailed view of it. I
The
saw it was like
stocking?
red. Yeah.
It was red with I
Like
think
a
it was like a
white
white
tee.
tee on it
Okay, yeah.
for Taylor.
I mean, I guess, yeah, okay, that's maybe generic enough to coincidentally get the same one.
Yeah.
Feels like a little more specific into something that might be.
See, maybe he should have, or maybe he already had like a D stocking, so he wanted to get one that matched, but he could have, well, there was no time for that. I was going to say he could have customized that or something, but
Yeah.
this is happening so quickly that I don't think any customization would have
Yeah.
been able to have taken place.
Right.
So she gifted him a Christmas ornament, and they both wrote each other letters, which they read out to each other. And then he proposes, and she says yes. And then we have the reveal, and there's a lot of conversation again about, he's wondering if she's going to be off-put by his shortness. So he talks about that a lot.
Right before the reveal, there's that, which then she finally makes like a comment on about it, or hopefully he's decently tall, or I don't know. There's like a small remark about his height, which it almost felt like set by the producers to try to get her to talk about it or something. I don't know. It felt like
she was asked pretty heavily. Like, what
yeah.
if he's shorter than
It
you?
didn't feel natural for her that she brought that up.
Right.
Mainly because he's just having so much focus on it. And she never really did at all until that moment. Which I guess maybe, but I don't know. It didn't feel totally natural to ask. I mean, I think she made a remark when she saw him that he was like a little bit shorter than normal or whatever, but I mean.
But then she says, hey, well, at least when we go out, I won't have to wear high heels as much.
Yeah.
So she's looking on the positive side. And that would be a very great positive for me because I hate heels. I want to not wear them really ever. So,
yeah.
If I can help it. I'm always afraid of tripping, but I guess I'd trip in regular shoes as well. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm scarred by like seeing some of those videos of the models walking down the runway and like twisting their ankles or like when they keep twisting, like they get up after they've fallen and then have you seen that video?
No.
And then it's
I don't watch
but maybe
catwalks.
Maybe her legs are made of jello or something at that point. I don't know. They look like this and then she keeps tripping and tripping and tripping after she keeps getting up. But
no.
Anyway.
You need a good calf game.
Yeah. The reveal went pretty well. Normal. Nothing crazy.
Their reaction of seeing each other, I mean, it was
all right.
It felt fine. I mean, yeah.
Not thrilling or anything.
Yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't intense, but it wasn't like bad, like a Leo and Brittany or something to that effect.
Right. There were no reveals that were as awkward as Leo and Brittany's.
I mean, no one
reveals.
seemed like I've made a ginormous mistake or something like that. But
I really didn't see like a huge spark between them either. Like that didn't seem like Taylor was like, oh my gosh, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, I felt like she felt maybe a little more put off. But I guess that is because of this.
Maybe that's where her thoughts started.
Right.
Yeah.
This whole thing that they cliffhanged.
All right, let's get to the drama. So after the reveal, we cut to Taylor, and she is upset in her hotel room, and she explains to everyone that she's pretty confident that Daniel followed her on Instagram a few months before this whole experiment because she remembers a guy posing with a glass of wine in front of a Christmas tree on their Instagram, and she didn't know who he was, but she took a quick look at his profile. But she said what's disturbing about this is in her Instagram, she has a lot of stuff about her. She talks about her being a nurse, her loving Taco Bell, her loving Christmas. So then she's thinking in her head, like, did he know the whole time what I looked like? And was he just kind of using all these things to already know these things about me and enhance them as he's talking to me?
Right.
So that to her was pretty disturbing.
Yeah. And then she does. You at least see where she confronts him about it, and he's like, "Well, I don't have one holding a drink, but I do have one in front of a Christmas tree or
No,
something."
he said not in front of a Christmas tree, but in front of a fireplace or something. I don't know. No drink.
I don't know. The way he responded
don't know.
just felt a little strange. Like,
And I don't know if they were trying to make it look strange, but yeah, she gets him together in like what looks like a hotel lobby, and she says, "Hey, we need to address this. And here's what I saw." And he's like, "Oh, well, my picture's slightly different." And he says, "Well, I don't remember following you. I don't know." And then something happened to where he followed and then unfollowed, or the person did, whoever it was.
yeah, because she was saying something where he no longer did anymore. I don't know. He just didn't.
He didn't really agree with what she was saying, and he was acting like he didn't really.
Yeah, but he
know.
wasn't like super like. What are you talking about? Like, no,
I think he.
I'd never met you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like he was just like, no, I don't have a
Either he was really trying to like recollect, like, did I like or go into an Instagram of her before I like really trying to think about it, or he's totally lying. But why wouldn't he bring up? Don't you think this would have made for like a? Well, I don't know if they would have allowed it then, allowed them to keep talking to each other. But let's say he did remember that, and then he realized, hey, I might be talking to someone who I thought looked nice on Instagram. And couldn't you picture this going another way too? If he said, "Hey, are you this person? I think I followed you before." I can't, like, if he just came out and said it in the pods or something. Or do you think he was purposely not trying to say something like
yeah,
that?
he wouldn't have done that because I would have probably
You think they immediately would have
eliminated him or
ripped them
something.
apart?
Yeah, I think that would have.
But he didn't know her.
Well, but I guess it's how. When do you know that you're gonna get? When do you know you're getting filmed for
I
this?
think, according to Nick, right, he didn't know until a month or two before. I don't know.
I guess because it raises more of the question: did he already know?
What? He got a secret cast list of who's going to be on the show?
Well,
There's no way he did. They don't tell you who's going to be on the show.
Yeah.
How could he have had ill intentions? The only thing weird is if you actually did think in the back of your mind, this could be the person that I followed, and then not have said anything to her.
Yeah, I guess if they don't have any, which I guess they shouldn't have any clue of who is going on the show. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I was trying to think if there was some way he found out or was able to figure out that she was it. But I guess I don't know. I mean, they're all local. Maybe it was by chance he followed a random girl or something, but
I don't think there's too much bad about it.
yeah.
I mean, he's not lying about who he really does love Christmas, and this is something that he does. It's not like he's pretending to like Christmas because she likes Christmas. He didn't paint himself out to be a wild Taco Bell fanatic.
Yeah, right.
How did he use any of that information?
Well, he could have to try to get on her side or something.
But he didn't.
But yeah.
He even changed his fast food restaurant to Chick-fil-A. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's just looking.
I think she's looking a lot into it. And I don't know if I would find it as disturbing as she did.
Yeah, I mean, if it was truly coincidental, which I guess it has to be unless he's some mastermind to figure out he knew that she was going to be on the show or something. But I mean, yeah, if it was total coincidence, that I don't think it really makes a big deal, because I don't know, unless he was like really following that profile or something and just knew that. Because I mean, you had like, I forget what ages they were, but you have Devin and Virginia who went to the same high school, different years, so they never saw each other.
They're all in the same town.
But
So it's
yeah,
really not that outlandish that they would
right.
not run into similar circles, but they didn't even meet.
I guess it's more. I guess they're almost just trying to paint it, or for her, it's like she almost thinks. I guess he's this crazy stalker that somehow figured out she was going to be on the show or something, and then he
That's
calculated
outlandish.
this
That's nuts.
thing so that she would like him, and which yeah, I guess looking at it, kind of seems pretty far fetched. I guess it's possible, but it's pretty far fetched that
What
they
I
would have
think
come together like that.
is going on here is she maybe is not immediately like 100% attracted to him and everything. So then she's like putting all these things together and trying to just really analyze everything way too much. Because if she was like super connected to him, wouldn't she laugh this off as like a crazy coincidence?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe she's got some reserves that she's not ready to, or just some hesitancy.
I think there's
with it.
hesitancy, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but
Well, but this is where the preview's dumb because you at least see her in a wedding dress, so she's obviously at least made it to the altar.
yeah, but in the first preview, you see her in the wedding dress. In the second preview, at the end of episode 6, they're not in it at all because the producers want you to forget about the first preview in episode 1.
Yeah, so we know they make it.
So let's go into Sarah and Ben.
Yes.
So we have Ben, who's an account executive, and we have Sarah, who's an oncology nurse.
Yeah, but wasn't this the confusing thing where you looked up
Yes.
Ben? He's like a
Developer.
developer on the website, but then he's on the
On the show, it says he's an account executive. I don't
Yeah.
understand what's going on here.
somebody messed up.
But also, I'd like to say that they have the same professions as Daniel and Taylor. Because, well, if what they said on the show is correct, Ben, account executive,
Yeah.
Sarah, oncology nurse.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they totally messed up the editing there.
Well, do you think Ben and Daniel work together and Sarah and Taylor might work together?
Yeah, I guess it's possible.
Yeah. But they bond over both of their dads loving to make steak. That's like one of the first things we hear about. They have some conversations where they talk about religion, and she's not religious and he's questioning his Christianity. He says, "Yes, I like to call it a faith, not a religion," which I didn't really understand. Is that him trying to downplay religion for her since she's not religious? But he says he goes to church every week. And then she says she's open to finding and accepting church. But she has a lot of doubts in general.
Well, yeah, I mean, she wants a bunch of stipulations in place before she would go to one. Yeah, I mean, there's some people who try to change or distinguish faith from religion. There was that big video years and years ago about, why I love God but hate religion and all this stuff. So there are some people who try to separate the two, and so I guess he's trying to do that here. But
Yeah, so they're having a lot of conversations, and then they get into a conversation about George Floyd and Black Lives Matter and politics. And she says she feels very strongly one way about these things. And he says, well, I've tried to stay out of politics. I didn't vote in the last election. And, I'm a pretty neutral guy. And she is very against this. And she says, I'm not going to lie, I really don't like that answer that you just gave. And then he's like, oh, well, I'd be open to talking about it or learning more and doing these things. And
yeah, I don't think. Well, I guess we didn't say whether we thought Daniel and Taylor will make it. I don't think they're kind of shaky, But well, leading that because I was gonna say I don't think there's these two are gonna make it at
I
all.
don't think so at all. My opinion on this couple is possibly both of them just wanted to make it on the show and go to the end or something because I think they're a horrible match for each other.
Yeah, they seem very. A lot of they align on very different ends of the spectrum. So I don't know how this lasts at all.
They don't really have anything in common.
Yeah.
Um,
Or they just say they will or
they will
they are,
eventually,
right.
yeah.
I mean,
and that's it.
later down the road they'll headbutt on a lot of things, I feel like. So yeah, I don't see how this one makes it at all.
And he is like constantly throwing things in there like, oh, I think I'm falling in love with you. And she then changes the conversation to say, let's talk about politics real quick. And even when he was about to propose, she says, we got to talk about politics really quick, though. So it's just like she's constantly trying to like bring it up because for her, it's like this deal breaker thing that she can't stop talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very big on this thing, and
She's just like, I need assurance on the social causes. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'll definitely look into that. By the way, will you marry me? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, this is the worst relationship.
yeah, it was very strange.
I don't know if it was editing where they cut those things together so quickly.
Yeah, maybe
I would
'cause
hope
they
that was
do
editing.
some of that. Yeah, they kind of misconstrue some things with that, but yeah, I mean, we see in the preview, that it looks like Sarah's walking down the aisle in the one shot because she's got the brightest blonde hair out of the matches, and you see one shot where a bright blonde is walking down. So looks like they at least make it that far. So I don't know. Maybe they even get married, but I think like long term, even probably by like reunion, I would say they're probably.
I think if that was actually her walking down the aisle, I think they part ways as soon as they get down the aisle and they don't get married. That's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, I would
happens.
lean more to that.
And they're just staying on the show
Yeah.
just to stay on the show. And
Yeah.
they didn't really connect with anybody else. So all they have is each other at this point, which I think is ridiculous. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but the one thing that Ben said that I liked was I think he was asked like what would a typical day look like, and he said, "Oh, a typical day would be, us going to get some Starbucks and then going grocery shopping." And then he also said, doing laundry together, just having a blast. So I thought it was fun that he mentioned Starbucks because that would be fun.
Yeah. I almost wonder. I don't.
She didn't look that into it though, did she?
No. I don't know. I felt like a lot of what he was saying was almost just stuff she wanted to hear. I
It
don't know.
didn't even look like she liked it that much. I don't know. He genuinely looked like he wanted to do some laundry and have some Starbucks.
Oh, I think that, yes. Yeah, but I think it was like, this is probably a plus to say these things as well. Maybe it does enjoy it, but
yeah, because everything the two of them say is just like, let's keep this going. Besides the politics and the social causes thing, but
yeah,
they're just trying to take it to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, this one doesn't feel good at all.
No, prediction, they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go back to Daniel and Taylor. Prediction, they're not going to make it.
Yeah, I would say they're not well, especially I thought they were kind of okay going into it, but then especially with the cliffhanger and seeing she felt a little hesitant kind of since the meeting.
I think he's more into it than she is.
Yeah. But
can their Christmas
gonna
bond
be
keep
rocky.
them together?
A lot more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely shaky. I would lean to no, they're not.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go to Joey and Monica, a couple that just brings smiles all around. They're the best couple this season.
They are like the Garrett and Taylor of last season.
Yes. They both have big personalities. They're both really happy.
Yeah, and they just connected. There wasn't, at least from the editing. There's really no other people they talked to. It was just the two of them, and they're the
They're the first people to see each other.
yeah,
But
and potentially the first. It's interesting. I wonder if they actually preserve the order of like the engagements of when they
right.
see each other,
Because we
or
did
if
keep
that's
seeing
editing.
Joey in the men's quarters whenever
Yeah, someone else was saying, I'm engaged or whatever. So
he was always the first person cheering and
yeah,
hugging and yeah, so
so maybe
I
they
don't know.
was later, but nonetheless, at least they show that it's pretty much just the two of them the whole
Or
time.
if you get engaged early, do they make you sit in the men's quarters and just sit there all day with the other people while they're going on dates and stuff? I don't
It
know.
could be, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine, like they get engaged and then it still takes 2 weeks for the other people to make decisions. Like maybe
I guess
it's
they do sit there because they all have to go on that trip together anyway.
right, yeah. But I feel like it's like there's 1 week where it's like everyone's got to make the decision or something.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
this is decision week.
By this
So,
week, but I'm sure Joey was one of the first.
right. So it's like he probably did on Monday or something. And then, uh, you know, Dave and Lauren were on like Friday or something
Right.
of that week or something.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so they're still there, but
So Monica's in digital marketing and Joey is a physician assistant. And we learn that they both love swing dancing. So they bond on that right away. And one thing also we kept joking about was that Joey reminds us of Joe's brother a little bit. So we kept thinking that throughout the whole series.
yeah, it's just the way he talks and the mannerisms and everything.
Joseph's
like
brother. Our host,
Spitting of
Joseph.
mine. Yes.
Yeah, because we don't call you that. Here.
Yeah, it's very spitting of
Spitting image of Joe's brother,
with
which
the
is
the
crazy.
mannerisms and the personality and everything. So
The way he talks sounds like his voice,
yeah, it's like half an octave higher than probably what he
but
sounds
the
like. So
inflections of things sounds like him.
yeah, same all around.
And his face looks like him, and his hair used to be long like him. I mean, I even thought it looked like him, and your brother obviously way better than me. But
Yes, yeah.
yeah, so I'll never not see that now.
Yeah, no,
But
this is interesting.
it
That's
is
funny.
interesting. So Joey has 3 sisters, but one passed away, which is sad, when he was 16 years old. So they might get more into that storyline too when the episodes keep going. But they bond over swing dancing, like we said. They bond over their hatred for country music, which I thought this was a little sad. I like country music. But what they're saying is true. Like, it's all about the same subjects and everything. But
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like with country, it's like you love it or you hate it. There's really no middle ground for it.
yeah. Well, they're both close with their family, and then they both have seen The Sound of Music a lot. So they talk about that.
Yeah, he always says he's seen it like 5,000 times or something, and he knows pretty much the thing word for word. And
Yes.
he
So,
loves Do Re Mi.
and they sing a couple different songs from The Sound of Music together,
Yes.
which I have not seen that movie, but I've heard
Yeah, you've
the
never
music.
seen it.
We need to watch it. But every time I
Yes.
say that, you're like, it's so long.
Yeah. It's like 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay, well, maybe eventually we'll
There's
watch
like an
it.
intermission in it.
Wow. They talk about money a little bit. Joey says he's pretty good with money, but his mother is not. And he started a retirement account for his mother. And then Monica admits that she's between jobs at the moment. And I think this was brave of her to admit that and talk about that too.
Well, I think I don't know if she was didn't have a job before coming onto the show, or I think a lot of people may have to quit their job to come on the show because I mean it's a pretty long time being away, and you may not be able to take that much time off. So
Yeah, wasn't that Hannah who quit her job to be
yeah, I mean
on
she
the
quit
show?
hers to show up. So maybe she's in just that position. She doesn't say, but
Was she the person that was taking care of somebody at home?
yeah, she did mention that her
I think,
grandmother
yeah.
like has dementia or something, and
But I think that
she
was the
does
main
help
reason
out and take care of her, which
for
is nice.
taking a
So
break to
yeah,
help. And then Joey admires this and he says, well, you're right where you need to be helping your family. And that's important. So at the end, Joey says, would you get engaged with me? That's his proposal to Monica.
yeah, which this I didn't mind because I actually thought if you do that and then when you see them, the will you marry me then
Which
when
he
you actually
didn't do.
see them in person, I feel like that'd be much nicer first
But
asking through a wall, but no, he doesn't do that in the reveal.
he just gets down on his knee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fast forward to the reveal. He gets down on his knee, presents the ring, and she says, you look like Tarzan, about his hair.
Yeah, she was very stunned by his long hair, which then
Yeah.
he said he only grew it out like this past year or something, so
Which
he's
is interesting.
new to it. So.
Yeah. So he says, you're beautiful. And she says, well, your hair is beautiful. And they're both just smiling and laughing like a ton. So
Yeah, no, theirs felt very
very good.
real, and they really enjoyed each other, and yeah, it didn't feel awkward or forced or anything. So no, I mean so far they really look like the Garrett and Taylor of this season. So
Imagine they have like a huge drama moment and we're totally wrong.
yeah, I mean it's very well possible,
But so far they look very into each other and very much dedicated to this experience, and
yeah,
it looks like things will go well for them. So prediction is they will get married.
I think they'll definitely they're strong at this point.
So let's dive right in to Devin and Virginia, and also Devin and Brittany. So let's go over Devin and Brittany first. So we have Devin, and he is a girls' high school basketball coach. And he is talking to both Brittany and Virginia, who are both older than him, which I think he said when asked about his previous relationships. When he was 24, he dated a 30-year-old woman. So he's not opposed to dating.
Yeah. Well, and
Older.
he's the youngest too out of the group.
He's 28, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Which I think pretty much everyone's at least in their 30s. So
well, it was interesting this go around to see people in their 40s, but unfortunately they weren't featured.
well, they had like one girl from from in her 40s. And
Yeah.
like Amanda was in 42, and then I think there was one guy who might have been. So I don't even understand why they
need to have a Love is Blind 40s and 50s edition or
sure,
golden edition
yes,
or
right.
something too. I think that would be huge.
Yeah, I think having whatever the statistics are, 9 30-year-olds and then one in their 40s, it's just going to be. And if they're all like younger 30s, like
I guess the
they're just
odds
really going to be
aren't in your favor at that point, but at least they included some people in their 40s, and I wish there was like a couple matched up from that. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, you just
to
need
see.
more people in that range.
Right. They should put more people in that range.
Which I guess they were saying too, this was like one of the largest casts they've done.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a ton of people that were there that did not get featured at all.
So many people.
So
Yeah.
I really don't know what, and I don't understand why. What was the point of doing that? I guess.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, it's not like you're gonna have potentially more couples. I mean, they can only follow like up to 6 couples, right? So, or at least one. Or I don't know. Maybe they'd follow more if they thought they were viable or something. Because I guess like the whole Leo and Brittany thing, right? They matched, but then they didn't follow them. So
probably because Brittany was trying to.
I guess because
get
I
away
guess they
from
knew
Leo.
it was going to be a
in the
waste
reveal.
of a time. So
Yeah. So
Yeah, I wonder if there is like an upper limit on how many matches could technically happen before they'd be
Right.
concerned or it'd be too much to try to
I'm still upset that
film.
no 40 somethings enter this. But so we have Brittany, who goes by Brittany, which is confusing sometimes. And sometimes Devin says Brittany, and sometimes he says Brittany. And then thank goodness she says you can just call me Brit or some sort of nickname.
B dot.
B dot. Yeah, that's right. Well, she's a partnership executive. And what does this mean?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But one thing they bond on off the bat is that both of their fathers are named Willie, and they're both not short for William, and they're both juniors.
Yeah, another father matching here, which
yes, reference.
interesting. But yes, that was a fun fact for them.
Yes, they both bond over gospel music and talk about that a little bit. And really, let's get into the main thing of what happened with Devin and Brittany to tear them apart, which Devin opens up about an injury, a really bad injury that he had to his back that I think occurred during basketball. And it was causing him so much pain. He, I think, Googled, like, how do I get rid of this pain? And he started taking ibuprofen for it. But then it got to the point where he was taking so many ibuprofen pills a day, just however many pills an hour, to equal up to 16 to 20 pills a day, I think he said.
Yeah, well, he's just eating more and more, just building the tolerance. So he was just trying to take more and more to help. Because I mean, he was saying, even getting out of bed was hard. So pretty much just like any of his daily tasks was very tough. So,
but it's dangerous to the point where you don't realize how much you're, I guess, consuming each day when you're doing that. And I think that's what he kind of talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess because it's either I take all this or I can't do anything.
So. Right. And he wanted to continue to play basketball and do what he wanted to do. But he then thankfully saw, I don't know if it was another doctor, a different doctor, and they discovered what was wrong with him. He had some hip surgeries, and then that took care of the problem. But he was in a pretty bad spot when he was taking all the ibuprofen. And I thought, like, my goodness, I wonder, like, what damage that did to his liver or his body, or that could have done a lot of damage if he kept that up long term.
I mean, it would need prolonged use, yeah, but I don't think he did it long enough for major
But
issues.
20 pills a day, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was very brave of him to openly talk about this to her. But then he also credited, I think his religion and talking to God, and that helped him to try to cope with things. And now he's in a much better spot.
Well, they figured out that, he went to a doctor and they said his femur bone was rubbing against his hip on both legs. So they shaved it down, I guess. Or they did something, but that's what fixed it. And then he's out of pain and he's good to go and he can keep playing basketball and all this stuff. So he can do what he loves again. So,
well, he said, he felt ashamed for abusing the medicine, and that's why it was something that he wanted to confide in her on.
Yeah.
So, or in. And then Brittany says, wow, thank you so much for being so open with me. Here's a story about me that I would like to confide in with you. And this is what breaks them up, which is really sad, because she thought this was, okay, great, open floor. Like, now I can tell something about me. But this totally scared him off. She said she was with a woman in the past, and they got to the point where the woman wanted to get married with her. And then she started thinking about her life, and she just couldn't envision herself with a woman in a marriage. And that's what ended their relationship. And she talked a little bit about, exploring who she was. And this made Devin think, like, oh, well, could she like envision herself with me long term? And what does this mean for me? And so I think that's kind of all he heard out of that story. And then he immediately like clammed up.
Yeah, I think it threw a lot of doubt in his mind of what would happen long term. So yeah, he really checked out after hearing
He was
this.
like, oh, okay, okay. Well, thank you, thank you. And then he's like trying to like back up out of the room basically.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wow, this is actually like kind of sad because she thought this was like a good space to open up about something like this. This is what just like destroyed everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so eventually they come back and have another date with each other. And she actually opens up the floor and she says, hey, I was thinking about everything. And, I think that we're just better off as friends. And to be honest, I need someone who isn't, as rigid as you in response to, like the story I told.
Well, yeah, I mean, she could tell that he was not.
She could tell immediately, I think. She's like,
So-
okay.
But it was
this
great
is
because
over.
I mean that's what needed to be told to. Because I mean, had that been found out after they already said
Oh,
yes
he
or
would have
something, that would have
been,
been
like, so
terrible.
upset.
So yeah, no, it was
And-
good that.
I agree. Yeah. It was good that she did tell him.
Yeah, because
And-
I'd rather find that out now.
And I would also rather find out now that someone's going to react like this
Yeah,
to me, and then we can just break it off now. But I think it was really big of her to go in there and say, listen, like, you're a wonderful person and we're two wonderful people that are going to find like what's meant for us. And the way she handled this was really great. And then he was kind of relieved. You could see on the other end, he's like, oh, I totally agree. Like, I just don't think we're each other's person. And so, otherwise it would have had to have been him saying like, hey, let's end this. But it was very mutual, very respectful. I thought it was a
Yeah.
really nice breaking up, if you have to make it nice. But it was so nice
well,
that
it was
she
just
said,
it was a mutual thing at that point. It wasn't a one-sided thing.
but it wasn't like no one was angry. Like, she could have came in there, right? And she could have said like, how come you didn't respond to my message well? And
Well, I guess, yeah, but I mean, what is that going to yield you? I mean,
I
she
mean,
just
nothing, but
knows,
we've
right.
seen people on these shows, and I could totally see someone else having like a crazy
Yeah.
reaction. Like, you should be more open-minded, or you should, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just it.
You're not
You
going
know,
to change
she
anybody's
wasn't-
mind at
right,
the end of the
she
day. And this is,
Just realized it wasn't him, and
Right.
yeah, they split ways.
and he
So, yeah,
realized
it
this is
worked
not
out.
going to work
Right.
long-term for me.
Yeah.
I can't be together with her romantically.
Yeah.
And that was that. But then she goes, maybe we can all be friends because I love who you're talking to as well. And she's a great person. And that's where they ended it. You
Yes.
think they'll all be friends?
No.
All right, let's get into it and talk about Devin and Virginia. So Virginia is a healthcare recruiter, which we later learn she has her PhD.
Yeah, she's a PhD in healthcare administration. Or that's what she's working in.
Oh,
now.
right. Yeah, healthcare administration. At least she's working in her field.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, healthcare recruiter, Virginia. She talks about her high school, and then they figure out they both went to the same high school except years apart from each other.
Yeah. So they went to Park Center, and then they found out it was like a 5-year difference of when they went. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess
They
it
didn't
is
know
a-
each other.
Right. They at least went to the same school, so it is a pretty close place if you grew up there. So.
Yes. So Devin, off the bat, is kind of thinking that Virginia's hiding something from him, or she's not opening up as much as he would like her to. But then after the whole Brittany situation, then I feel like Devin like completely immersed himself into Virginia. He's like, oh crap. He like panicked and had to go back there, which that to me just like seems like this relationship isn't really that solid. It seemed like a panic thing, and then all of a sudden he was all in.
Yeah, I mean, it started off weaker. It didn't seem like it was that great. And then yeah, especially after, Britt told him her news, that really made him, I feel like, confide in Virginia at this point to choose her. And
And he's like, let me hurry up and tell her my ibuprofen story and everything else too. So he tells her the same story, and they're both crying about it, which it was nice to see some emotion from Virginia on this too.
Yeah. 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 So he opened it with that because he was, and then, I mean, I felt towards the very end, they felt a little bit stronger and things weren't as shaky. They felt a little more grounded, but
Is she the one that's a dancer?
yes, I think so. Yeah.
I was trying to remember.
Yes, because he said something about, well, I consider dance athletic or something. And she was like, oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
But then she says, hopefully you can teach me basketball, though.
Yes, because she was a cheerleader for dancing or basketball.
Yeah, which I feel like her telling him that kind of paints some sort of picture in his mind of what she might look like as
Yeah,
well.
could be because yeah, I'm in the stereotypes with that. So sure.
Yeah. I don't really have like a lot on this couple because I feel like Virginia was quiet about a lot and then Devin like all of a sudden completely submerged himself into this situation after Brittany, but it looked like he connected more with Brittany at certain points.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did a lot more of the talk. I mean, Virginia just seems very, at least just very so far passive and just timid with the whole experience so far. Um, and even during their reveal, she felt, she was kind of nervous and anxious and not really sure what to say. So I don't know. I think the whole thing, she's just been very quiet. Maybe that's just how she is in general too.
Yeah.
But she does seem a little more reserved going through this whole thing.
Yes.
And that's what he was trying to, I feel like, kind of convey because he was trying to say, hey, I don't think you haven't really talked that much, so I don't.
And this whole thing is about talking because I can't see you. So,
Yeah. I
right.
need to know more about you.
So maybe we'll get to know more about Virginia now that they're leaving
Yeah.
the pods. But let's go over their gifts. So she gives him a camera and a passport cover and says, hopefully we'll get to make memories and travel together. And she also gives him, is it her grandmother's ring, I think?
Yes. Yeah, because she's, she said they were married, for a long time, and that's kind of the love she's looking for, and that was supposed to be the symbol of that. So,
Right.
which that was a pretty big gesture to give
Yeah.
this
sure.
early on.
Did we pay attention if he proposed with that ring?
No, I didn't look at that.
I meant to
I didn't
look,
think
but
about that.
was
No.
that the whole point of giving it to him?
Maybe it was. I don't think so. But yeah, I guess it could have been.
Oh, if it wasn't, I hope that she got to keep that and not
Yeah.
him.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It's almost like, hey, I want this as my engagement ring. Which, I
It's
mean, yeah,
like,
it'd be
sweet,
nice,
now I
I
don't have to
guess,
pay for it.
But yeah, I mean,
No, but I don't even think they
I
pay
don't
for
know.
it
Yeah.
on the show. I think the producers pay for it, or up to a certain amount anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at that. That'd be interesting to see though.
So he gives her a plaque about food. I think there's like a poem about food on it, and a necklace with his initials and some flowers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was just some standard stuff.
Yeah. And then all of this is standard because he had more of a connection with Brittany until the big reveal that she did.
Yeah, I do think he was almost bonding more with Brittany than Virginia.
I think he was all in with Brittany. I think they even talked about their love for macaroni and cheese, and he had the father connection. And
he's this huge, like, he's just like basically just eats, sleeps, and breathes basketball, which that's kind of how Brittany was as well.
Right.
So I think he really,
it was a perfect match until she opened up about her story.
yeah.
So I think he's like trying to force this with Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not great about I don't know. I mean, right after the Brittany thing and talking with her, it just felt a little forced. A little bit after that felt a little bit better, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm not totally sure yet how I feel about them.
Yeah, we'll have to wait. But anyway, he proposes. She says yes. They have the reveal. It goes okay. And that's pretty much it.
Yes. Now, two, we knew Devin at least was making it to the altar. Oh well, two, because in one of the previews here, they clearly show his face and her face in the pool in the one shot. So that was like a dead giveaway. I mean, once you knew who he was,
Right.
but yeah, for seeing it. But then you saw him at the altar as well, or because you saw a hand that person had a sleeve, tattoo sleeve. So
It's
it was
definitely
someone like
him.
that, which he had it. So he's at least in the altar. But
Right.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So prediction. Will they get married?
Yeah, I think they will.
This is such a question mark for me. It's like,
I think they will. Whether they're like still together by reunion or whatever may be questionable. But yeah, I think at least they'll say I do.
for now, for me, they're like a no. I think they'll realize they don't have a ton in common or something will happen with that. But
Yeah.
my mind could change after episode 7 through 9. I don't know. I need to see more of them. I need to see
Yeah.
more to understand.
Yeah, it's up in the air.
So let's get into Dave and Lauren and Dave and Molly. Who do you want to cover first?
I guess we can do Molly since she didn't make it.
Yeah, so let's talk about Dave and Molly. So Dave, he's in medical device sales, and he says he's surrounded by Botox, fillers. We learned that his mom passed away 6 years ago, and this was breast cancer, but she was in stage 4 for, I think he said 10 and a half years, which is a while. But he got 2 tattoos with his mother's handwriting, which I thought was nice. So one tattoo says love always and the other one says proud of you on it. Which these are the tattoos on his arm, right? Or one's on his arm.
Yeah.
Are they
One's
both
on
on
the
his
back
arm?
of his arm. Oh, one's on the inside of his arm, one's on the back of his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's really big handwriting, but they're pretty big tattoos, right?
Yes, well, and because once again with the preview, I saw a guy walking behind, but on the one arm he had a tattoo, and then once he mentioned that, then I was like, oh, that's that guy. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew then, and then I knew then too that the girl he's with had like the dirty blonde kind of hair, and Molly was a redhead. So then I knew
They didn't end up.
Molly wasn't together with him. So
Why do the previews give so much away?
so then
Already?
that one was like an easy find to just see. Yeah, well, obviously Molly doesn't do it. So
Right. Well, we also learned that he's in a book club with his friends, which I thought was pretty random.
yeah, because he mentioned he barely doesn't even really read anyway,
Yeah.
which is weird.
So then we have Molly, who's an executive assistant. And something they bond on right away is they both never really had serious relationships. And Molly says she's never had a boyfriend really before. So they talk about that. But immediately he compares Molly's voice to a girl he used to date in high school, which I don't know how she wasn't immediately like insulted by this, but I feel like she took things pretty well.
Yeah.
They both have tattoos. I think they talked about that. They're both not academically inclined. He said one time he got a 6 on an English paper. So that's not great.
Yeah, because he just read the back cover of the book and used that as his whole
Yeah,
paper,
how
basically.
ridiculous.
Which is why I'm strange. Like, why is he in a book club then if he really.
Maybe he's trying to redeem himself.
I guess. I don't know.
Okay, but we also called him Steven 2.0 because of his confession here. He says in his last relationship, he cheated on her and he regrets it. He says he'll never do it again. We had to pull up Steven's reveal to Monica to compare it. I thought it was like an exact comparison, but it wasn't exact. But it just reminded us of Steven.
Yeah, well, because it's like bringing it up as like one of the first things in these things. It's almost like you're there doing it to make yourself look better, to think that, oh, you're bringing it up and, you're past it now. In reality, you're not. I just don't get bringing it up I don't know, bringing it up this early. Um, because it just feels more, I don't know, bringing it that early just feels like it's more as a front to just look better and think you've moved on. Verse,
Yeah.
you really have. And I don't know, he made another remark too. He's like, well, I just go out, to Vegas or whatever, and I get tons of girls that talk to me and all this stuff. So, um,
Do you think that Dave will be at a sleep study later this season?
no, but I don't know. Maybe there could be something potentially. I mean, the previews give it like Lauren does something, I guess, or I don't. They try to allude that, or
Yeah, they try to make you think.
somebody's doing something.
Right.
But so I don't know. Maybe, but I think it's definitely possible that there could be something. But because I don't know. He also mentions too. He's like, in my past, I always make the wrong mistake. I just constantly mess up, mess up, mess up, mess up.
Steven. Oh no, it's Steven.
But I don't know. Yeah, I guess we could see.
I think that might come into play sometime later because he does talk about this with Molly, but we don't see him talking about this with Lauren.
I think he will have a struggle of it at some point. Yes, maybe to like the level, or something of like Steven's level. Maybe not, but there may be something where it's
Steven
like
took it
he
to a whole new
just,
level.
yeah, I don't know. He entertains some messages or something maybe afterwards.
We will see.
But yeah.
But Molly says she understands she hasn't cheated, but she has been together with someone who was cheating on his girlfriend with her, and she knew about it. So she had conflicting feelings there.
Right, like she was the one involved in it, but yeah.
Right. Which she felt guilty about too. So Molly then tells Dave, I'm not talking to anybody else except you. And I think they believe different things about politics and religion, and they both say that they're okay believing different things or they're flexible with that. Molly asks him, how would you react to your kid coming up to you and saying they're LGBT plus? And he said, oh, I'd be proud of them for coming up to me and talking to me about that. And then they talk about stay-at-home moms, and Dave says he likes stay-at-home moms. And Molly says, I agree with that. And then they both say that their moms were stay-at-home moms, so they bond over that. And then she does say she wants to be a stay-at-home mom. So she talks about that a little bit. And he says, we're literally the same person. So they seem to be meshing up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot in common. I mean, I think, Dave, he kind of, I don't know, it's like he, I guess, forgets that there's a time limit to this thing or something, because he's really doesn't seem at all or ever really conveys that he's like, has to make a decision between the two of them. Like he just keeps continuing on with both of them. And there's really
This was so bad. Yeah.
no end for him of saying, well, I've got to figure out, who I'm gonna
Well,
go
the
with.
same thing for Mason that we'll see in a little bit. But it's
Yes,
like the two
right.
of them just like had no concept of time and just wanted to continue talking to their two connections forever, which we all knew that couldn't last.
Right. And that's the whole thing. I was saying on this show, it's like I would find it so hard to do that, because it's just, I don't know, to go that far into things would be challenging. But anyway, I don't know. He doesn't really seem to make a point, and then it kind of bites him, because then towards the end, both of them are kind of saying, well, who's it going to be? And I thought,
And they're both talking to each other about this, and it's really messy. But something really messy that happens is Dave talks to Molly about like what kind of ring would you want, what color, and what style and stuff, and like why would you even get into that conversation if you're so deep with your other connection too, and that's so misleading to talk to Molly about that.
Yeah. Well, and then there was the one point where Molly thought he was gonna, the next date he was gonna have with Lauren was gonna be like the breakup date or whatever. She went in thinking that it was her and whatnot, and then she kind of got blindsided with
Yeah, it's terrible.
with the no. But
So okay, well, yeah, she got blindsided because the day they talked about the ring, they even talked about using his mother's ring, to which she said, "Oh, your sister might want it." And she was very understanding, or trying to be understanding, that that's a big step. And he even said, "You're my number one, especially after this day. Woo, you blew my mind. You're my number one." But he didn't mean it at all.
yeah,
So Dave is a liar.
yeah, it was very misleading with it.
So that's where they get to before the breakup. But let's go over Dave and Lauren. So Lauren is in educational sales. She sells social studies curriculum to school districts, which she used to be a teacher, but she said she wasn't making a livable wage just being a teacher, which is really sad to think about. Okay, let's go over Dave and his terrible jokes that aren't really funny at all. But Dave starts off the conversation with Lauren, which I don't know why she continued talking to him after this, but he says, Lauren says, "Oh, I'm 30 years old." And Dave says, "Oh, well, you're 30 years old. That means you're no longer attractive, right?"
Yeah, he made this, which was strange, and then he made, which they showed how I guess he like asked every single, I guess, girl actually besides Molly this. As part of his introduction, he's like, "Oh, so what's wrong with you? Why are you here?"
Yeah, all
And
these
I don't know.
terrible things.
Like, he clearly has a poor taste in jokes, but I don't know. It's weird because I guess he thinks they're funny, but
All right, let's talk about some other bad jokes he made with Lauren. Um, well, first he says to her, "I have a sex playlist that I use every time," or something. And she goes, "Well, can we change the songs then that are on this playlist? Because that's kind of weird that you have a set playlist for this with different people," which I thought that was odd that he brought up. But then they start talking about kids, and then he makes a joke about her being 30 again. And he says, "Yeah, you're getting pretty old, so we're going to have to crank it up a notch," with the kid starting in that conversation.
yeah, there was some where even it was like, I don't know. At first, I thought they were just like these awkward icebreaker things he was trying to do, but then he did still crack some of them, like after they were already kind of like deep in a connection, which I thought was kind of weird.
"You're getting old?" That's so mean.
Yeah.
That is just, it's not funny. That's bad. Really bad.
Or she didn't even, she still was like nervously laughing.
She's like,
but
well, the first time he made that joke about her being 30 and unattractive, she looked horrified, and then she nervous laughed.
yeah, I thought at that point she was like, just gonna like, all right,
Wouldn't that
next
be a
person.
good time to walk out? Yeah, I think that would be a great time to just
Yeah, I'd
walk
be
out.
like, I don't think this is gonna work.
Oh, okay then.
This
Goodbye.
is the banter we're gonna have.
He also told her he had an OnlyFans account, and he's like, "Just kidding, just kidding."
Yeah, he did that to like a lot of them, and I was like, I was amazed at how many like thought I actually had one or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, so let's talk about this. Lauren's dad's name is Dave.
yes, another one.
Yeah. They both have tattoos as well. He said if they get married, he would love to get matching tattoos. So we get to the point where Lauren calls out Dave because of him calling Molly his number one, and Molly and Lauren talking about this. And Dave says, "I don't want to get caught up in girl drama right now." Which, what does he mean, girl drama? He created this.
Yeah, I just didn't really understand his whole thought process going into all this because it really just
So bad.
wasn't well thought out.
He did tell Molly she was his number one. And Lauren says, "This is not girl drama. It's you needing to figure out what you want to do here." And she says, "You are my number one. And I'm serious about you needing to make a choice here between us." And then Molly seems more easygoing about things. So she's like, oh, yeah, I know you need to explore your options and take your time. Um, but I wrote Dave is a liar. I kept thinking like he really is a liar. But he then tells Lauren he never told Molly that she was his number one, and he has very strong feelings for Lauren, and he assures her this is true. And so Lauren confronts him about planning to end it with her, and he says, "I never said I was going to end it with you too." And then he says, "I want to be open about my feelings. I want to marry you." And so let's go back to the Molly part too. So when Dave goes to Molly in one of his meetings with her, he says he's been crying for the past hour. And Molly says, "Oh, okay, you've made your decision, haven't you?" And then I wrote that he was kind of a jerk to Molly, and he makes her say that he wants to end it
Well,
because she says, "I."
yeah, he
What
never.
happens here?
I mean, he never totally said it was off or like I'm breaking up with you, like I'm choosing Lauren or whatever.
And then
He
she
just
says,
said,
"Can you say something?" And he says, "I thought I did say something."
yeah, he tried to act like he did it, but she was kind of saying, well, all right, or are you breaking up with me or whatever, and she had to like spell it out, and then he still was kind of like iffy about it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. He was very weird about that, and then I mean, Molly handled it very well. I mean, I think she kind of understood or just knew going in that this could happen or whatever. But yeah, I mean, she took it very well. I was
She's,
kind of shocked Lauren
yeah,
didn't
very mature.
even almost say, well, you've taken so long and all the hesitancy. I don't think we're gonna work out now or something, and
Yeah.
walk out herself, kind of like with the Mason situation. But
Right. I was shocked because Molly walks into the women's quarters then and she talks to Lauren after that breakup conversation that she just had with him. And she tells her everything. And she says that he made false promises to her. And Lauren says, he should have never put them both in this position. And Molly says, I support you no matter what you decide to do. Ask the questions that you need to ask to Dave. And I wish you both well. And Molly's very mature the way she handled everything. I
yeah,
commend her
yeah,
for that. But then, yeah, Lauren goes back in with Dave, and Dave is able to sweet talk her, and then he proposes, and she says yes, and then they end up together. So,
yeah,
yeah, I just thought the way that ended really wasn't. I think Dave just had trouble ending things with people, and
yeah. It really just didn't seem like he ever was gonna like pick one of them. It seemed like if he had forever, he would have just kept things going on between the two of them forever.
right.
So
So
I
they're
think
together.
that's gonna really come back to haunt him during the reveal when they bring back
The other
the
people.
people.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we do see that he's having a conversation with Molly.
yeah. When he says something about I made a mistake or something. So,
Oh,
but
right, right.
yeah, I mean, regardless about the talks, I just think it's gonna cause trouble. Is it relationship ending? I don't know. I guess I'll have to see how intense it is. But I already do think there is gonna be some underwater times
Yeah.
when that happens
Yeah.
or when the event comes up.
So they get to their reveal, and he says, you really look like a teacher, which I don't know what that meant.
I think it just thought I don't know. His word choice is pretty bad, but I don't know if he thought it was just something nice because she said she was a teacher or something that looked like that. But I don't.
What does it mean to look like a teacher?
I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't
I
know
guess she
either.
just said she was a teacher, so I thought he thought it
She
was
said, "What do
nice
you think of
that.
the way I look?" And he said, "Well, you look like a teacher."
Yeah, I don't know.
That to me sounds like stereotypical teacher. Am I some stereotype? I don't know what that means.
I don't know. I think he thought it was a nice thing, but it was just a weird thing to
Yeah,
say.
Dave does not have a way with words. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he's kind of like one of those blunt
Blunt, but it doesn't even
words,
make
but
sense.
yeah, but he like doesn't even recognize that it doesn't make sense or that it's weird or that even that something that he says is kind of strange. Like, oh, you're no longer attractive after this age or something. Like, He just
That
doesn't
is,
understand that that's like not a
if he doesn't
great
understand,
thing to
that's
say,
wrong. I
probably.
don't know how to help him.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So prediction: do Dave and Lauren get married?
I think there's two. The I feel like the previews gave away a lot of stuff for them, unless they're maybe misconstruing and pointing it to somebody else. But I think they're kind of weak because he just with the two. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the couples that get stuck trying to pick between someone never really work out in the end. Like I feel like the ones who just like find the person and they just go and they just focus on them and then everything else is like dandy. So no, I'd probably say no.
I would say no as well. I do not think they are getting married at this
Yeah.
point. All right, let's talk about Alex and Madison and Mason and Meg,
Yes.
all in these triangles.
Yeah. I think Mason and Megan or Mason and Madison probably got the most airtime out of anyone.
And they're not even making it past these episodes,
Yeah.
besides the little pop-in party thing that they'll have.
Yeah. This was the only one that I got tripped up with from the preview was because they showed a clip of the 5 women together, and I figured those must be because it looked like they were still in like the honeymoon thing. Maybe this, so it looked like this was. I guess this must be part of the event where they come back, but I thought this was like the honeymoon thing. So since Meg was there, I thought Mason got together with Meg.
Oh, right.
And so I thought that they made it. So this was the only one that I was not surprised about, or I was surprised that they didn't get together.
Yeah.
Because
I thought they would have been a great fit. We'll talk about this, but Mason and Meg.
Yeah.
Or they could have been if Mason didn't get so swayed by Madison and
I mean, I think I kind of thought, especially after the one conversation they had, I mean, Meg and Mason like clicked very well, and then they like loved all the same things, and there's this moment where he talked to Madison about one of his favorite movies, and then Meg just brought it up, and then it was just like
natural conversation for them. Yeah.
yeah. So they really hit it off, but I don't know. It did almost feel like I had this like gut feeling of where it's just like he still kind of was more drawn to Madison in a way.
I think he was more like, I don't know how to say this.
I think, well,
He was more sensual with Madison, and then he was more developing an actual strong connection with Meg.
yes, and I think Madison threw the game off for him completely, and I think that is exactly what happened because there were some times where they started talking about some physicality stuff, and I think that completely swayed him. And
Well, the number one thing that swayed him was when Madison came in and basically said, I need you to pick me, or we'll get to it, but I think she definitely had a move at the end, which made him panic, totally freak out, and ruin everything with Meg
yeah,
and Madison. So,
yeah,
but I think Madison was kind of playing him to a certain extent because she was already so far deep with Alex.
well,
that,
I mean, it was the same thing. I mean, he really wasn't showing much of like I've got to figure out who it's gonna be. I'm just gonna keep talking to both of these people.
yeah, so let's be clear. So it was Alex was only talking to one person, and that was Madison.
Yes.
So, but Madison was talking to 2 people. She was talking to Alex and she was talking to Mason. And then Meg was only talking to one person, and that was Mason. But Mason was talking to both Madison and Meg.
Yeah.
So
It's like a W.
yes. So Mason talking to 2 people, Madison talking to 2 people, and then poor Alex and Meg in the corner.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened.
Yeah.
All right. So Mason, he's a cinematographer. He got into this initially from skateboarding, where he would film his buddy skateboarding from behind and do all these different angles, and he got creative with that. And then he went to college for this, and now he does it professionally, and he makes commercials and documentaries. So I thought his job was pretty cool. Sounds pretty cool. And then we have Madison, who is an artist. She's a painter. She grew up in India, and she has also lived in many different countries. And her parents never got married. They had her when they were 19. They've had troubles with drugs. Her mom was on drugs. They lost her stepdad due to an overdose when she was in the 8th grade. And she kind of has this estranged relationship with her mother now. And she's kind of had to act like her parent. And she says she's close with her brother and sister. But yeah, so she's had a tough upbringing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very, very different and a lot tougher.
They
yeah.
bond over them being creatives, both of them in different ways.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, an artist and a videographer, so cinematographer, but
Well, something interesting about Mason was, well, he said he was a skater punk in high school, which is pretty fun. But he said he did terrible in high school and then somehow got into a university and made his dreams happen after that.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because he didn't think he was really going to go far since he struggled academically, but then somehow got his dream job right out of college, so things kind of worked out for him.
Right. Yeah. So they both bond, but it's a lot of like physical talk that they're bonding over. And they both discuss how they're seeing other people as well. Basically, let's cover the point where Madison comes in and says to Mason, like, you have to make a decision, because she said, it's okay if you think I'm not the one. And she just needs some sort of confirmation from him. And then Mason panics and says, you know, I've never felt this way about someone before. And he's not just going to throw their connection away. And they both agree that they want to continue seeing each other. And then Mason says he's committing to Madison. And he says, I'm committed to only you. And she says, oh, I like hearing that. But she doesn't say it back because she's committed to Alex during this time.
Yeah, which was because she kind of kept talking about or saying to him, like, I'm not getting enough affirmation from you, you know, that you're, you know, really serious about us. And I'm getting that from my other connection. So that's why I feel stronger in that one. And
Right.
And I mean, Mason kind of with you know, with both of the relationships, he was really kind of mysterious about both. I mean, Meg, there was the one scene where she said, miss you, I already miss you or something, or I'll miss you, you know, at the end of their date. And then he just said, bye. Like, didn't even respond to it.
So let's go over Mason and Meg, the other connection here. So Meg, she's an oncology nurse. She looks like Caroline from the Vampire Diaries. That's what I first said, which I think it's very true.
Yeah, she could resemble that.
So they do both have a connection off the bat. They both believe in ghosts and spirits. They're both not religious. They both like the movie Her. They bond on different movies like Inception. And then they both talk about reincarnation. And she says that she would like to be a butterfly. He would like to be a dolphin. And she's always leaving the room thinking that she's not his number one, or there's something missing here from this connection.
Yeah, I mean, the conversations always seem to go well and strong, but then she kind of feels like there's always something lacking from it, and or that she doesn't really know where he stands or where they stand, and she's not really sure because she knows there's another connection out there, so she just doesn't know where she fits between the two of them. So
yeah, which this indecisiveness with Mason, he needs to make up his mind at this point. But yeah, talk about
but yeah, I mean,
the miss you thing.
Yeah, I mean, he was just too mysterious, I think, with both of them. I mean, they had a lot of conversations, but he never really said to either of them, you know, this is kind of where you're standing currently. But yeah, like towards one of the later dates, you know, she's like, miss you or something. And then he just says bye and like doesn't even acknowledge it.
Yeah, and she feels horrible.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
And then she thought, oh, I clearly must be the number 2 and not the number 1 if that's the case. So yeah, I don't see what happened to him and trying to at least bring them up to speed on where they, where he is ultimately.
And then I think he's like changing his mind with where he's at too, because of that kind of ultimatum thing that Madison came in with, like, I'm really affirmed in my other connection. So if you don't affirm me, like, we're going to have to part ways. And he's like, oh, no. Then he like panics or whatever to Madison.
Well, that really, because she basically at that point was like almost.
But I think she's totally playing him. And then she totally ruined the relationship between him and Meg, or any possibility they had, because she says this big grand statement. Then she commits to Alex. And then he's all confused. He commits to her. And then he presents her with special food, this date that they have next. And then she says to him, oh, I thought you heard the news. How would he hear the news? That her and Alex are committed to each other. He's totally confused. He thinks that they're together.
Well, one, I guess maybe they were more, I guess the guys were more private or something, or at least between Alex and him.
But why would you assume that people were just talking and they heard
well, because I guess
without her coming forward and saying it directly?
I mean, they showed the scene where Alex came out and said, "I've got a girlfriend now," and everyone was like, "Yay, yay!" And then
he didn't say who.
He was right, but she was expecting, I guess, him to say who it was.
Well, that's a bad expectation to have.
Sure,
because the news should come straight from your mouth.
Yes, I bet it's like a lot of the guys were very secretive in who they're, but meanwhile the girls just like.
Right.
Finally, towards the end, we're like
I'm
all
saying,
open. They're like, I'm 1 and 2 with these two
having
connections.
the assumption,
the guys still didn't have that.
It's so wrong because
Sure.
it should come from you.
I mean, yes, yeah.
Not misleading somebody and then they're presenting this meal that they created for you or whatever, and then now it's all.
Yeah,
ruined.
I mean, they had a lot of conversations, but they never really had like a deep conversation or even like a reality of check. Like, all right, where do we stand? Are we serious about us? Do we really want to go
But
forward?
she makes him panic. She makes him say to her, like, this is, you're it for me.
Well,
and then he's totally in.
I mean, she just wanted, I think it was getting towards the end, and she's like, where am I standing?
Then don't commit fully to Alex. Then you have to pick
she
one.
hadn't committed yet, but then he...
Then she did, and then she didn't tell Mason.
Right,
yet.
but she asked Mason, where do we... Or I need you to.
And then he
tell you
told her.
Right, and he freaked out and just said like on the spot, "Oh yeah, it's you or you."
It's only you, and she said, "I like hearing that."
Yeah,
then she went and got together with Alex. They should have agreed to only be committed to each other at that point, both of them. Then, if that's what they were going to say that they were doing.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, it just I don't know. I mean. I don't know if it seems like Madison probably never really was into Mason, or he probably should have just been more. Well, I think because she brought that up, and then he said, "Oh, yeah, it's you," and she said, "I don't expect you to make the statement, to make a decision right now," which I would have hoped he would have said, "All right, I'll get through today, think it over the night, and I'll come back to you the next day and tell you,
Sure.
What's going on." I think
but
him
maybe
panicking really messed up.
Well, she should have said then at that point, okay, let's both go think about this some more. And then the next day we'll talk about this some more.
Well, yes, because him saying too that I'm committed to you now when she asked,
and then
you've
she
got
said
to say an answer
nothing
now.
Back to you.
Yeah, but I think she probably thought too, how genuine is this? You're saying this because I asked this question to begin with. So, yeah, I think if he had just... That was more of a wake-up call for him to just maul the night and have a decision the next day. That was really, I think, what that was. And then he just freaked out and...
Right. Yeah, he did.
And then said that. So, yeah, I mean, he messed up.
Yeah, but she made him freak out and do that, too. Because...
Yes, he should have had the composure to say. But ultimately, I don't even know if she really had that much with him. I think almost for her it was just kind of a fun fling thing talking to him, and she was more serious about Alex. But so that wasn't great on her. I mean, she should have kind of been in the same thing of, hey, I'm leaning more towards Alex right now, unless
Right.
you know you can prove to me that you're all in on this or something. But
And then he did prove it, and then she said,
well,
"Psych."
but she just said, yeah. But then he kept saying, I regret saying that. I
After she broke up with him, yeah. What is he going to say, I guess? And maybe
yeah
he did regret it then because she said, "I thought you heard the news." He goes, "Oh, well, no, I haven't." And she
yeah
goes, "Oh, well, I'm with Alex." And then he goes, "Oh, yeah, I guess I really didn't mean what I said to you then." She goes, I knew you didn't mean it." So, but she said things happen for a reason, but maybe if you were a bit more decisive, we could have worked out. And then he comes back to the men's quarters and he says, "Hey, I just got broken up with, guys." And he says, basically, after meeting with my number one, I got broken up with.
yeah
But then he says, "I have a lot to make up for with Meg because I know they're talking together. And now, if I have any hope of landing a relationship with her, I need to really go in there
yeah
and show myself." So then he meets with Meg and he admits to validating Madison. And he says, but it didn't feel right. He felt really confused. And Meg says, "Well, now I feel like I'm here by default. And I'm the second pick, and I don't know how I'm going to live with that. So I really don't think this is going to work out. And, you've always been my number one, but I don't feel that you thought the same about me. And definitely not yesterday." So she says, "I don't think I can get past this." But at this point, I was really thinking that Mason would do some begging or something else to say, "No, no, no, I made a huge mistake. Please give us a chance." He didn't say anything. He was just like, "Okay."
yeah. Because I don't know. I don't know how much.
You don't think he could have fought for her a little bit harder?
Yeah, I mean, he could try, right? I mean, it's it's tough because I mean, for her, right? It sounded like she was never gonna get past that purely of whether she was number two or not. And I think for her, that probably would just she'd never get past that. So I don't think it would have mattered what he tried to say to make up to her. Because even sure, it could have been that moment, but you know, 6 months down the road, that could still be haunting her, and that could be like a stake in their relationship.
Yeah.
So I think that now I do think he just kind of shut down and just gave up. But
I think he shut down
I
way too
do
quick
kind
and
of
gave up.
think with her saying that, I feel like I would have seen the. I don't even know if me trying to say any, doing word jujitsu is gonna even make this work out now. Because she seems so bothered by that, by I'll never know that question. That's gonna haunt me forever. So
I just know if I were in her position, I probably would have wanted to hear more.
yeah, I mean,
"Let
he
me
could have
fight for
tried to
this."
fight because I mean, you
Yeah.
saw Leo. I mean, Leo was with Brittany. I mean, he fought tooth and nail for when he was trying to decide make his decision. So yeah, I mean, he could have. All right, I guess he could have tried. I mean, what's the harm in trying? I mean,
I don't know.
there's
I
really
think he's
nothing.
just a confused guy.
But
He
I think it almost was. I think Madison really was his number one.
a- After the panic moment, yes.
I even think before
Before
it.
that, I don't think they had a deep connection like he had with
No,
Meg.
but I think she messed it up with the whole physicality thing.
She did.
I think she got in his head with that, and that completely swayed his
And then
decision.
I think he realized, "Oh no, I really wasn't the best with
Yeah,
Madison."
emotionally, he was much better with Meg, but he blew it because he got yeah. So
Into that
right,
stuff
he just
instead.
wasn't thinking clearly. So,
Yeah, he was blindsided. But yeah, he made a huge mistake and lost
but
Meg.
both, I mean, this is almost like the same situation with Dave, and then Lauren just decided to stay and go through it with it. It's interesting to see that Meg actually kind of stuck to her guns
Yeah.
and didn't go through this.
Yeah.
Because they were they're both in the exact same situation,
know.
and he just happened to have one of the girls that was still willing to take a chance,
Right.
but Because I mean, she's kind of in that boat. Was she really his number one or not? But
But remember what we saw in the previews, which gives me hope that maybe they do get together. But remember
what,
we,
Mason and Meg?
yeah,
Well, yeah. There's this. The preview mentions like I guess Meg after the show immediately like as regrets not going with Mason or something, and I guess tries to find him and text him or something,
I
and
think
I
they
guess
walk
they
in
start
holding
talking.
hands to the party.
Well, they show up together, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they're now like got
Dating.
together after the show or something, and I don't know. Maybe Meg did some of that either because she regretted not taking the chance, or at least hey, we're off air now. We can
Talk to each
do
other.
this and not.
And maybe you have more of a clear head now that we're not in this situation, Mason.
Yeah.
So let's go over Alex and Madison. So Alex is in real estate and he used to be a nerd. He felt uncomfortable growing up. He was bullied and he failed high school due to ADHD. And then he got kicked out of his house because his family felt very strongly about academics. So he's had a challenging upbringing as well. And him and Madison bond over both being bullied in high school, and they have both been cheated on before. But then things started to turn rocky when Alex asked Madison about her personality type, and then she said she was an avoidant personality. And then this really turned Alex away from the thought of her. I think that's where it all started crashing downhill. He's like, oh, okay. Like, because I think he's been burned in the past by avoidant partners.
Yeah, so he brings up, which this was news to me. I was not familiar with this, but I guess there's these attachment styles, and he asks her if she's familiar, and she is, and she's the avoidant, which I guess he's had a lot of experience with in the past and been burned by it. So he's,
But I think he knows what he wants and he doesn't want to have a dismissive partner. And like even the thought of that happening.
I think a lot of it may have been that's how previously, but she said she's willing to work on it and things like that. And I don't know. I would almost say too, it's different for her because I mean, for her upbringing, I think it molded her somewhat into that because she pretty much had to be on her like own her whole time. I mean, her parents were never basically a burden to her. I mean,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I feel like it's almost different with her. Like she may be saying it almost because of that, where I don't know. So I feel like him dismissing it so quickly was not good.
But then he comes back and he says, I'm sorry I came off so strong about the news that you're an avoidant personality. And he said he's learning that he shouldn't take past relationship traumas into his new relationships. And then we said, well, he's being a bit hypocritical because as soon as he learned that she was avoidant, he started avoiding her.
Well, yeah, that was right. When she said that, then he just completely like shut down and didn't want to discuss it. And I don't know. Yeah, it was very strange.
But then they come back together and Alex says that, I understand you're going to have moments due to your past. But he asks, like, how can I help you throughout those moments? And she says, well, you can't. Like, you really can't. You just have to let me be and process things. And then they kind of talk about getting a house together, what their future would look like. And Madison tells Alex, I think that you're the one, and Mason is more of a friend to me. And then they gift each other things, and she gives him a used paintbrush, and he gives her a painting book that his grandmother made. And then they start talking about, at this point, Mason and Madison broke up, and then they start talking about Mason.
This didn't make any sense.
Yeah, so let's go over this part. So Madison said, it was upsetting to her that Mason took back what he said about her and wasn't validating that she was the best, and which I didn't understand both sides of this. I didn't understand her being so upset by Mason. Why are you still so hung up on this? If Alex is your person, move on from the Mason thing and move forward into your new relationship. And why would you care so much about this? But then the way Alex responds to this is he's like, oh no, Mason's a good guy. He's like defending him like crazy to Madison, which really makes her upset. Like, stop saying he's such a good guy. I'm just telling you the way he did this was wrong. And then he keeps defending, and defending is like digging his hole like deeper and deeper with her.
Yeah, I just don't understand this because they basically almost had like a disagreement on how that played out, and it was almost, I guess he was almost maybe somewhat like upset with like how Madison communicated that whole thing to Mason or something. But I don't know. He like took Mason's mistakes almost like personally or something, and was like bothered that with that, and that's just seemed very weird. So
He's
I
like,
don't
I
know.
like to look at like both sides of things, and I think he meant well, and I think he became good friends with him. So
Yeah, it's just I don't know. You were like to throw away your connection here to just on that was it just felt weird. It was just very weird. Things were going fine, and then like he just would not let this go.
yeah, shouldn't he have picked up like, oh no, this is making her upset. I need to stop doing this. But
Yeah,
he totally didn't pick up on it, and he
but
didn't
then
care about it.
but then he was like, is this going to be us? Are we going to have bad communication? Or we're not going to? And then she was like, yeah, sure. There's probably going to be times where there's going to be miscommunications, but
I thought they
I'll
were
do the
a
best.
bad match anyway.
I didn't think they were going to make it. Well, and the other thing was, previews again. They show the only time you saw Madison was she had pink hair, and then like that was like, oh, that must be the time where she comes back. So
Right.
I figured, and even just kind of from especially with the avoidant thing, I figured, oh, they're like, there's no way they're making it.
Right.
But seeing that was the only shot in the preview too, I was like, yeah, there's no way she makes it then. But
There's no one with bright pink hair on the trip.
yeah, and yeah, so it just I don't know that, but I don't know him being so well with the communication thing, right? She said that, and he's like, well, I don't know, I don't think we can make it then. Like he almost expects like perfect communication. Like I feel like his standards are almost like
Through the
imperfect.
roof.
They're
Yeah.
not. Every relationship's gonna have communication breakdown throughout the whole time.
He wanted perfection on everything, and
Yeah.
she is not perfection. She has, which you can't be perfection. Number one.
Yeah, he has like a total misconception of what a relationship should be.
But
So,
just everything he was looking for was not what Madison was anyway. So the fact that they just kept talking and talking was,
yeah.
and on her end, was he really what she was looking for? I don't think so. I just think the two just really didn't make a very good match to
Yeah.
begin with. Sure,
Yeah,
they could
it
be
was never
friends,
great,
but yeah, it wasn't
yeah.
never there. So I was confused about this whole thing, and yeah. So Alex basically says, we're not going to be a good match, and then they end things there, and they do not move forward.
Yeah.
So
And that's everyone.
and that's everyone. So all of that airtime on Alex, Madison, Mason, and Meg, just to have none of them move forward as couples.
Yeah, they clearly did not have much to go off of this season. Because I don't know, you had all these other people that you constantly saw in the quarters that never even got introduced, and none of them got any airtime, and there was just all of this time around this like triangle between the two of them, and then nothing came out of it. I don't know, it's way too much.
Way too much. And then what does that mean for the other couples that are left? Is there going to be enough interesting storyline?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, I guess obviously it should be a little more involvement of things since it's now not talking to a wall, but yeah, I don't know. It was weird to see that much.
So much airtime.
So much of it was not or focused on not. But then I saw somebody else, mention, I guess, like what, by like episode 6, usually they're already supposed to be, at the vacation spot spending time together, or this was 6 episodes of purely just the pod. And then like the last 2 were just or so much of it was just on the triangle stuff that's you're not even going to follow any of that anymore. So it was almost like a waste of film.
I'm really wondering what's coming up next.
Yeah.
How are they going to keep this interesting when 4 of their main characters, dropped off?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it kind of stinks we won't be seeing them much anymore. But
Well, but yeah, unless that event is like a long day or something. I don't know. I feel like there's something about the reunion thing that's gonna be I think a main part of
yes,
this.
yes,
It's not even gonna be so much about the hanging out. It's more about the like bringing everyone back, and because it's all these, and that's why I would not want to have two connections I was with anyway, because there's always so much, which the preview showed a ton of drama of the people who had like two people. The other person comes back and they talk, and then that creates strain on their current relationship and all this, and yeah. Like that's why I would never even want to begin with, because I know that would be coming back down the road to haunt me. Like, just I'll stay out of it.
yeah.
No, please.
We were talking about this. Like, wouldn't you go in and then try to like find of course you try to find the person you're connecting the most with, but instead of going so deep into two conversations, just like try to early on cut off.
Yeah, just try to figure out the one, because I mean, it's just gonna offer more and more struggles and pain and just stress that you don't need. You should just find one sooner and let them down earlier sooner, because it's just gonna be easier at that point.
Yeah.
The longer you wait, the harder it's gonna get. So
Yeah.
just rip the Band-Aid off.
Just do it.
Yeah.
So that's it. That is everybody in episodes 1 through 6.
Yes. So now we will wait until episodes 7 through 9 come out.
Yeah. Friday. Woo.
Yeah.
We're excited to go through that and see what happens moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Interesting season so far.
Yeah. An interesting triangle that has now ceased to exist.
Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of A Fine Podcast.
Yes, we hope you liked it. Make sure to check out all our social medias if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time in the 7 through 9.
Yeah, we can't wait to go over episodes 7 through 9 and subscribe to us for more to keep up with everything.
Yeah, we'll see
Thanks
you
a lot.
then.
Bye.
Ciao.